So today we're actually going to be leaving the workshop. I want to show you a project that I'm going to work on today. I got this storm shelter here, and there's a light down there, but there's no real electrical, so I have to use this extension cord to power it. So it's kind of annoying. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to build a small off-grid solar setup so I can have some full-time power down here. But the problem is it does get cold here in the wintertime, so I needed a battery that would shut off when the cold weather was here. So today I got that battery, so I'm going to use that to build out this system, and I'm going to show you how to build it, and I'm really excited about this, so let's get into this. It's very echoey in that storm shelter, so I want to go over the parts, the general idea of what I'm going to do first in my workshop so you can hear me better. So to start with, I'm going to be using this OKMO battery, 12 volt 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. I did a capacity test on it. It is a really good battery, but what I really love about it is it has low temp protection, and not just low temp charging protection, but low temp discharging protection. And that's critical for this project because it's going to be in a storm shelter, and again, like I said, the winters here can get cold. I know it's surprising because it's Oklahoma, but they can get down to 0 or even -degrees. So I needed a battery that could do that. So this is going to be the heart of the system. I'm really excited about this. It's a brand new battery. I can't wait to try it out. So the next component is we're going to need a fuse. You got to have a fuse between your battery and your system. I'm going to use an A&L fuse. Then we're going to have a really nice Pure Sine Wave Inverter. This is 1200 watts, be plenty of power. Because remember, it's just a storm shelter. I'm not going to use it all the time. So this is going to be plenty of power. And then I have an MPPT Solar Charge Controller. This one is 100 volts, so it'll definitely be able to handle everything I'm going to throw at it. And I've got a couple of panels that I'm going to hook up to it. So I've just placed my battery on a toolbox because I personally don't like to have batteries sitting on the floor just in case stuff floods or anything like that. That's just my personal preference. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough out my components based on my existing wires. As you can see down here, the inverter already has some wires, and I don't want to create new wires, so I'm just going to make sure everything fits to my wires. But while we're talking about it, real quick though, the tools you're going to need are pretty basic. Screwdriver, drill, some screws, ohm meter if you have it. We're going to use a bus bar, and then I'm going to also use some electrical staples to make sure all the wiring is snug. So the next step is I'm just going to kind of place everything and start wiring it up. So real quickly, I want to talk about wiring. I'm going to be using 2 gauge on my setup. 2 gauge can easily handle well over 100 amps, and I'm not going to be coming anywhere near that, but you want to make sure you properly wire your setup. Now I'm going to be using smaller wire between my solar panels, charge controller, and the system, because that's significantly less amperage as well. So I can use this solar wire for that, but make sure you properly wire your setup. So I just attached my wire from my battery to the fuse. So you always want to separate your battery from your system with a fuse. So that is going to go right about there. So now I can just mount that right there with a couple of screws. So don't use an impact driver when you're installing these. Use a drill. In fact, set your drill to 1 so you don't overdrive them. So now that is mounted, just take my wire, put it in there. So now I'm going to mount the inverter. I already have 2 gauge wire on there. I'm going to place it roughly where I know it's going to fit. And now we will mount the charge controller. Now for the negative side, I'm actually going to install a bus bar. So the negative from the battery is going to go to the bus bar. The negative from this is going to go to the bus bar. And then a wire is going to go out from here to the inverter. This is a 100 amp bus bar. Just like your wiring, you're going to want to make sure that you match it. So now on the charge controller, I'm going to use that smaller 8 gauge or 10 gauge wire. I can't remember what it is. This one I put a copper lug on it. If you don't know how to do this, I actually have videos on how to do this. It's not very hard. Just buy the copper lug, strip it, and put it on. And this one's going to go to the negative side of the battery icon because it's going to the battery. So I'm just going to rough it in and then cut it, strip it, put it in. And then just insert it in that hole. You'll feel the gate grab it, and then just tighten down. And then you should be able to pull on it, and it shouldn't come out. If you pull on it and it comes out, it's not insecure enough. Now we're going to do the same idea with the red, which is the positive. I've attached it to this side of my fuse. Tighten that down, rough it in, and then just same concept. Open up that gate, insert it into the positive side of the battery icon. And now we're going to hook up the negative wire to the inverter. So this, again, a 2 gauge wire is going to go from the bus bar to the negative sides of the inverter. So the final step is to install the solar panels. These 2 wires go up and out and will go to the panels. I'm going to trim them back and I'm going to put them on the icon that looks like a solar panel. Black to negative, red to positive. And these will go in the same way as the other ones. Open up this gate, slide the wire in, close the gate, you'll feel it tighten on it. Turn it all the way until it's snug. And make sure they won't come out by pulling on them. Open up the other one. And tighten that one down. And that's it, you're done. Now what I did is I have an MT50 that lets me see my EPEVER charge controller. I would recommend you install something that lets you monitor your system, whether it's this, whether it's just an inline monitor, a shunt, whatever you want to get. Also, if you're going to build a system you're going to use on a regular basis, I would strongly recommend you add some circuit breakers so you can separate your charge controller and your solar panels and even your battery. So 1, 2, 3. That way you can turn them on and off. You can even get a battery switch for your battery, so you can turn the whole system on and turn the whole system off. This is a system that's only going to be used intermittently, so I'm not too worried about that. But as you can see, it's charging. Solar panels are hooked up. It's still early in the morning, so not a lot of energy is coming in, but we have a complete system. Now let's turn on the inverter. So it really is that simple. Inverter's on, battery's being charged, everything's set and ready to rock and roll. If anybody has any questions, please leave a comment below. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.